All right, Shalom is real. This is gonna be a part two to the lesson I just did in regards to Trump's newly signed Genesis mission and Revelation 13 and 11 through 14. And I brought out Revelation 13 and 14. However, I realized that I didn't expound on Revelation 13 and 13. All right. And it's actually very crucial to that lesson, and you'll see why in a minute. So definitely check that lesson out. And the Genesis mission, in this article, they constantly, as you see, breaking President Trump just signed an executive order akin to the Manhattan Project. So I got to bring this out again, right? The Manhattan Project. The Manhattan Project was an unprecedented top secret World War II government program in which the United States rushed to develop and deploy the world's first atomic weapons before Nazi Germany. Now, that's so significant, as you're going to see. So let's start at Revelation 13 and 12. And he exercises all the power of the first beast before him. America exercised its power as if it were Rome. When you look it up, the founding fathers of America had Rome in mind when writing the Constitution. And causeth the earth and them which dwelt therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed. So Rome fell, and it was healed as America. And he doeth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men. Now, that Manhattan Project allowed this to happen, as America was the first to drop hydrogen bombs on a nation. All right? They were the first to create hydrogen bombs. And deceiveth them that dwell in the earth by the means of those miracles. So those miracles goes into, as previously stated, those hydrogen bombs, which at that time was very well held. Even to this day, those are some very intricate pieces of technology, which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell in the earth, that they should make an image to the beast, which had a wound by a sword and did live. All right. So through them dropping bombs, that was the catalyst in which we know today as NATO. That created NATO. Right? In other words, the technology that this beast had wooed the world to the fact of them having or feeling like they had to seek protection under this beast. All right? Which today, that's what you see. NATO, the EU, led by America. So now, when you look it up, oh, please, no, fuck. So lock you, man. Fucking see. We're gonna get it back, though. And Lord willing, this is edifying to you, Akim and Akwaf, you elect. The bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Indirectly. So it says, yes, the atomic bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki indirectly contributed to the formation of NATO, not because of the bombings themselves, but because the accelerated geopolitical dynamics that led to the Cold War. It says the bombing signaled a shift in global power. The use of atomic weapons in 1945 demonstrated that the United States possessed an unprecedented military advantage. He calls it fire to come down from heaven, from the skies. It says this contributed to a power vacuum in post-war Europe, with the USSR extending influence westward. The emerging bipolar world centered on the US and the USSR. While the atomic bomb did not cause Soviet expansion, it shaped Soviet threat perceptions. Stalin believed the US was willing to use overwhelming force. So we're going to read the third and the fourth point. The arms race increased Western European insecurity. Eastern Europeans have fallen under Soviet influence. Western European states were militarily weak after World War II. Right? The USSR was increasingly seen as expansionist. Nuclear weapons raised the stakes. If Europe was vulnerable conventionally, the U.S. deterrent, including nuclear weapons, became central to its security. This directly fed conversations about a collective security structure backed by U.S. power. The U.S. nuclear monopoly made European states seek U.S. protection. From 1945 to 1949, the U.S. was the only nuclear power. This meant Western European nations could not deter the USSR on their own. Only the U.S. could credibly deter Soviet aggression. Thus, the existence of nuclear weapons strengthened the argument for a U.S.-led alliance. If deterrence depended on American nuclear capability, Europe needed a formal military alliance with the U.S. i.e., it says this logic became a cornerstone of NATO. Right? So the scriptures stand true. And he doeth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men, and deceiveth them that dwell in the earth by the means of those miracles. Right? Let's look up the word deceive. Because when you deceive somebody, it's kind of like you're doing a magic trick on them, like you woeing them. Now you got their attention. So that word deceive, meaning to cause astray, to lead astray. Right? To be led into error. You know, and they were definitely led into error by following the ways of this whore. Right? But it says, even the scriptures speak on how, and it's at Jeremiah 51, I believe, how the nations have followed her, therefore the nations are mad. Something to that extent. Right? But like I said, this is very it's interesting how, you know, they utilize the Manhattan Project to what's going on with this, you know, today, what they call the Genesis mission, and how that was to woo the world into following their lead, just as that same Manhattan Project did in the past. You know? So that's pretty much it, man. Lord willing, you occupy Aqua for edified. And that's how this is how we know that we are on the right side of prophecy. This is how we know what time we're in. All right? We are at the point of the development of the image of the beast. Okay? That's all this AI enforcement is. All right? Is the image of the beast, the furtherance of the image of the beast. All right? To the rest of the world. Okay? Which, for those of you newcomers, the image of the beast is essentially the society, this American society. All right? The beast is Rome. All right, Rome came back as America. It died and came back. And its likeness, all right, the society's likeness, as I went into before, how the founding fathers had Rome in mind when creating the what else? What's it called? The Salakia. When creating the Constitution, yup. You can look that up. All right, and it says, saying to them that dwell in the earth, that they should make an image to the beast which had a wound by a sword and did live. So fast forwarding today, all right, they're using their technology, all right, their new form miracles to woo or deceive the world once again. Okay, and this place is going to be destroyed. Hey, Revelation 18 tells us that. So Lord willing, till the next time, shalom to the elect.